Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Karen Inglis. We warmly welcome the family of Lance Corporal Maurice O'Donohue, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge His Excellency Orhan Tavali, Governor of Çanakkale, Turkey, and President Ismail Kastamir, President of the Gallipoli Historical Site, and the accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If able, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lance Corporal Maurice O'Donohue. Maurice O'Donohue was born in 1891, the second youngest of 12 children of James and Elizabeth O'Donohue of Horsham, Victoria. Maurice moved with his family to the Kalgoorlie goldfields in Western Australia, where he spent his formative years. After school, he attended Claremont Training College and became a teacher with the West Australian Education Department. He taught at Northern State School, where he was remembered as a sterling Catholic and Hibernian. Every Sunday morning saw him at Mass receiving Holy Communion and attending benediction at night. O'Donohue enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force at Helena Vale near Perth in September 1914. After a period of training at Black Boy Hill, he embarked with the 1st Troop Ship Convoy as an original member of the 11th Battalion. Initially destined for Europe, the troop ships were diverted to Egypt following Ottoman Turkey's entry into the war. In Egypt, the Australian and New Zealand troops spent some months protecting British interests in the area. By April the following year, they were drawn into a major Allied effort to force a passage through the Dardanelles and knock Ottoman Turkey out of the war. O'Donohue had by then been promoted to Lance Corporal. The 11th Battalion landed in Gallipoli on the 25th of April 1915. The day before, O'Donohue had written a letter describing his part in the assault and the preparations for it. In a few hours, we shall be fighting a more tangible foe than ill health, he said. Let us hope our luck will hold good on the peninsula of Gallipoli. At 3:30 p.m, we go on board the destroyers and will be taken on them as near our landing place as the depths of water will allow. Then we take the rowing boats and then ashore. We shall have an imposing reception. For the rest, one must take his chance while doing his bit. The 11th Battalion landed the following morning, coming ashore near Aribunai at around 4:30 a.m. Meeting little resistance, they pushed inland, where the Australian attack quickly became disorganised and confused in the steep terrain. Over the following hours, Turkish resistance stiffened as reinforcements were rushed to the Anzac area. Over the following days, Australia and New Zealand troops dug in, well short of their objectives, under heavy rifle and machine gun fire from the Turks. The Australians lost over 5,000 casualties in just 4 days of fighting. Among them was Maurice O'Donohue. Initially listed as missing in action, his parents wrote repeatedly to the Defence Department asking for news of their missing son, wondering whether he had been taken prisoner by the Turks. No word was heard of O'Donohue until April 1916, when a court of inquiry determined he had been killed in action on the 25th of April 1915. Aged 23 at the time of his death, O'Donohue is commemorated at the Lone Pine Memorial alongside 5,000 Australian and New Zealand troops with no known grave who died fighting on Gallipoli. Maurice O'Donohue is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed beside the pool of reflection. He is just one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Corporal Maurice O'Donohue, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good night. Thank you.